What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Vegas 75. We got Marvin Vettori going against Jared Cannonier. We got a 14-fight card, and honestly, Weezy, I think it's a really good card. I taped this card last week, and I really liked a lot of these matchups. I think there's going to be a lot of very fun fights, and I think, honestly, it's a stacked card for a fight night card that's going to be happening at the Apex. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, I agree. This is a high-level Apex card. I've been, campaigning for months and maybe even a year at this point to get the Apex shut down and to have just use it for the Contender Series, use it for the Ultimate Fighter, and start going on the road and having to sell out crowds, so that you're going to get better name value on those cards. Well, this is one of those cards where they're doing a pretty good job. And 14 fights, Brady. A lot of different spots sticking out this week. This is going to be a fun show. I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you.
Yep. So we are doing the show on a Wednesday. So I did go on vacation. I went on a Carnival cruise, and I do want to say one thing. Carnival cruise, you guys got to get some help. So I purchased Weezy the premium Wi-Fi. There are three options: the lower, the mid-tier, and the premium. I purchased the premium Wi-Fi only for it to not work 90% of the time. You couldn't watch videos. You couldn't. I didn't look at any stats, any odds, any fights, any nothing. The entire cruise, I was it felt like a coke ad. Like I need to see some odds. Like I see on Twitter, everybody's posting these plays. I'm like, I want to see the odds. So I haven't seen any odds in a week. It's been since last Wednesday since I've seen any lines. I'm going to be looking at them tonight for the first time. Have not placed any bets. Going to be doing that tonight or tomorrow. But I'm really looking forward to talking about the card, looking at these lines. And I know Weezy already have a ton of plays, and I'm kind of upset because typically we go as of late we've been doing probability, right? And nothing's really been sticking out. They've been on it, right? But this week, all of a sudden, they decide to mess up a couple of these lines. And some of these lines I'm seeing, man, I'm upset that I missed some of these lines that we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully there's still some value there left for me here on a Wednesday.
Yeah, there's been some line movement this week, but I don't think there's really a Twitter darling this week where we're seeing, we did, if you wanted to get on, for instance, like the Cannonier money line, I think Vettori was around minus 150 when you left for the cruise, and now it's a pick 'em, so you might have missed out on Cannonier if you wanted to get on him. You might have missed out a little bit on Dennis Bondar if you wanted to get on his money line, because there's been some steam coming in on him, but there's still, a total of 14 fights, and there's a lot of props. There were a lot of money lines, over-unders that stuck out earlier in the week, and those are starting to adjust. The under 1.5 in the Torres Motta fight is getting smoked.
I bet it is.
We knew that would happen. I mean, those guys are going to fight like two rats in a shoe, so it's going to end quickly. I can't wait to break down this card, though. It's a great one.
Yep, it is. And don't worry, I did do some gambling. I was on the casino every day but one day. The first night I went, I played the Buffalo slot. I love the Buffalo slot. It was a 75-cent bet turned into like 385, which was awesome. But so I won the first night, and then every other night I got completely screwed. So at least I got some gambling done there. But Weezy, I say we get into it here. I'll try my best, guys. I'm probably rusty as heck, but let's see if we can get it done here. 14 fights. Let's get right into it. Let's shout the chat, Weezy. We do appreciate everybody being here. And I did tell you this before the show, but you didn't even know about it. But I set the show for the wrong day. I set the show for yesterday at 8:15. And I go on YouTube. I look in the chat and I see that it was supposed to be happening. And then there's tons of people in the chat hanging out. I saw Mushroom in there, just a ton of people hanging out in the chat. So that was my bad. And they were there for a while, it seemed like. So we appreciate you guys. Sorry about that, but we're going to try to give you a good show this week. And speaking of Mushroom, what is up, Mushroom? First one in here. We got Mike in here as well. We got Andrew in here. We got Victor, the Jesus in here. MMA Propaholic, Buffalo on the beat. We got Pub Sports Radio, Mike Harvey. We got Subhuman in here as well. We got Jeff. We got J-Bone. What is up, everybody? And we do have a very generous donation from MMA Propaholic, my dude, saying, let's go Stat Diggers, middle of the week. Hope you were sipping on margaritas. I was sipping on some margaritas, some apple teenies. No, I didn't. I had some Bahama Mamas. It was a good time. It was a good time. All right, Weezy, let's get into this card. And let's start with I don't know how you feel about this fight, but this is probably my least favorite fight of the card. I kind of see why they put it as early down on the card. Here we got Zach Pauga going against Modestas Bukauskas. Bootsy likes it a little bit more than I do. We got Zach Pauga, 35 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. Bukauskas, 29 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Bukauskas is 6 years younger. Bukauskas with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. We have Zach Pauga, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Muhammad Usman, lost that fight by second round knockout, and then beat Jordan Wright by decision. Modestas Bukauskas is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had a pretty bad run in the UFC, I think going either 1-2 or 1-3, and then he makes his return to the UFC a couple of fights later, and then beats Tyson Pedro and wins a decision. So I really couldn't be any lower on both these guys. I mean, I've never been a big fan of Modestas Bukauskas. You know, I don't like his fighting style. I don't think his fights are that exciting to watch. Zach Pauga, you know, he should be ashamed of himself, Weezy. I mean, taking Jordan Wright to decision, I mean, that's inexcusable scenario. I mean, taking Jordan Wright to decision is the worst thing that you could possibly do in the UFC. So not high on either of these guys whatsoever. I feel like this could be a close fight because I don't really see Modestas Bukauskas going out there throwing a ton of volume. I don't see him wrestling. I don't see him going out there knocking out Zach Pauga. I think this is a fight that's going to take place on the feet a lot. But I also feel like Zach Pauga can mix in takedowns here as well. So, and what I think is going to be a close fight, I kind of lean with the dog here in Zach Pauga, but it's one of those fights where I just don't feel like putting any money on either Modestas Bukauskas or Zach Pauga. So, Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
So when these openers dropped, especially for the over-under, I was taking a look at an over 2.5 at minus 155. And I was like, boy, that feels like a lock. You know, I mean, Modestas Bukauskas couldn't finish a glass of water. I mean, Zach Pauga couldn't finish Jordan Wright. I think he's got one finish on his entire pro career, Zach Pauga does. So, you know, I really kind of felt like that would be the way to play this fight. But Zach Pauga's chin, I am not sure about it, Brady. So I just didn't want to. It was in that price range where I either max bet it or I leave it alone. It was like minus 155. So, you know, Bukauskas, he's got a lot of advantages on paper here, right? He's younger, he's taller, he's more experienced, he's longer. He's fought the better brand of competition. His 5-round experience is compelling, as is his cardio. I think this fight is going to be a distance kickboxing match. And I think Bukauskas is a little more technical and powerful at this level. And Pauga's chin really worries me. I like the over 2.5 rounds, but I don't think I'll pull the trigger because, you know, Pauga's chin, I'm just not sure it's all there. And the guy played professional football, Brady, so he's taken some shots to the head. He was a running back, for Christ's sake. That is an absolute terror on your body. It's unbelievable how much punishment those guys take. And he was playing a lot of fullback too. So not only, you know, is he carrying the ball every once in a while, but he's also blocking on plays where he's not carrying the ball. You know, I think that, you know, even though he's late to the show and he doesn't have much of a career at this point, he's a good athlete. He's a good guy. I mean, like he can do things in different areas. He trains with a good team at Team Elevation, but I mean, if Modestas touches him once and he falls, then that's it, you know? So I'm staying away from this fight. I'm picking Bukauskas to win this fight by decision, but I don't trust Pauga's chin. And if I did, the over 2.5 would have been a huge bet this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overs, it hits. I think it hits. It's just laying minus 175 on a light heavyweight fight. It is a lot, but yeah, I mean, I don't really see a finish here either way. I would be interested to know what the finish only prop would be for Bukauskas. Because, like I said, man, if you're not finishing Jordan Wright, like something's up. Only minus 190. I mean, that's about where the money line is. Money line's around minus 200. So I think the finish only probably voids. But if Zach Pauga can't finish Jordan Wright, he's not finishing Modestas Bukauskas at all.
No, I mean, I don't think so. Like I said, I do think it does go over, but, you know, since I couldn't trust Pauga's chin, I couldn't make that play. And if I had to make a money line play here, the money would be on Pauga. There's no way in hell, Brady. No. I am laying minus 190 on Modestas Bukauskas. And if you want to find out why and lose an hour of your life that you'll never get back ever, go and watch the Lee Chadwick fight and the Chuck Campbell fight. you will probably fall asleep. If you've ever had a problem with insomnia in your life, you should have Chuck Campbell versus Modestas Bukauskas on a loop in your bedroom. You will fall asleep. So, I mean, this is not a great way to start the card. I would rather have money on the plus money side here on Pauga, but my money won't get anywhere near it, and I'm going to be smiling when this fight starts.
Yeah, I won't be touched. Like laying minus 200 on Bukauskas is like the type of play where you're just smashing your teeth with a baseball bat, right? Like if you bet on Bukauskas and he goes out there and gets held against the cage or goes out there and doesn't throw a ton, you're going to be smashing your TV laying that much chalk on the guy. So it's really pass or pass for me. I don't like either of these guys. It's going to be a stay away here, and it's a fight that I'm going to miss this card. I'm going to miss this card, Weez. So I missed last week's card, which sucked. I really was looking forward to 289, and I'm going to miss this card as well. I'm going to a wedding. I'm going to be in like the middle of nowhere, like the middle of the forest. So I doubt I have any connection to watch these fights. So I'm probably going to miss another good card here, but I'll be catching up on it probably the next day.
Yeah, that's always hard when you miss a card. Doing what we do, Brady, it's like Saturday night, the card's over. And then Sunday, when you wake up, it's already time to get ready for Stat Diggers. It feels like if you go back and you watch that card, that you're not using your time effectively. So it's hard when we miss cards. We sometimes don't see them for like a month just because we need a day off to like sit down and watch 6 hours of fights.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like Lou lost his bet. Yeah, I mean, you would think I would wear a hat after a long day in the car after waking up so early, but no hat today. Man, my hair is looking. I'm looking like a Irina Alexeyeva over here. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fire my hair and makeup. My hair and makeup, they're getting fired. That's inexcusable. Having me looking like Alexeyeva tonight.
Dude, I had to fire my butler, Brady. I had to fire my hair and makeup people several different times. I went through like 4 butlers in just the last year and a half, I'd have to say. It is almost impossible to find good help. So, it's just these are the difficulties that we deal with as content creators, Brady.
Yeah, this is the things that people don't see, on screen. They don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and this is one of them. This shitty haircut tonight. All right, let's move on then to another fight. We have Dan Argueta going against Ronnie Lawrence. We got Dan Argueta, 29 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach. Ronnie Lawrence, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. We have Argueta 1 year younger. Ronnie Lawrence with a 1-inch height advantage, same reach there. Dan Argueta, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Damon Jackson, I believe on short notice up a weight class, lost that fight by decision, made a pretty good account for himself, bounces back, stepped down in competition against Nick Aguirre, his last fight. Ronnie Lawrence is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Contender series win on against Jose Johnson by decision, knockout win against Vince Cachero in the 3rd round, a decision win against Mana Martinez, and then a decision loss to Saidyakov Kakhramonov. So Ronnie Lawrence is a guy that, I don't know, it kind of surprised me in his last fight. He went out there and got Ronnie Lawrence by Kakhramonov. Kakhramonov took Ronnie Lawrence's game plan and just used it against him. I think Kakhramonov had like 10 takedowns against Ronnie Lawrence, which just made no sense because we were all expecting Ronnie Lawrence, a guy that is averaging a ridiculous amount of takedowns, to go out there and do that. The Kakhramonov is actually the opposite way around. Prior to that, Kakhramonov, the guy went out there, took down Jose Johnson like 12, Martinez a ton of time. I mean, this guy can wrestle. He can wrestle for 15 minutes. I think his striking is very underrated, and I would like to see him get back in the win column here. I don't hold that Kakhramonov loss against Ronnie Lawrence, that much. I think Kakhramonov is a very good fighter. I'm not sure. Do you know why Kakhramonov got cut, Weezy? Because he's very good. I don't that.
Yeah, so it's a very strange situation because I don't know if there's any real information out there as to why he got cut, but it makes no sense. So in my opinion, it had nothing to do with his fights or his ability to take fights. As a matter of fact, Saidyakub Kakhramonov fought Umar Nurmagomedov on the regional scene. And when nobody was picking up the phone to take an Umar Nurmagomedov fight before Saidyakub got cut, he said, I'll fucking fight him again. I don't care. I'll fight him again. So you're never cutting a guy who raises their hand when the Said Nurmagomedov call comes in, when the Umar Nurmagomedov call comes in. You know, I mean, this guy's taking tough fights from day. The Ronnie Lawrence, nobody wanted to fight Ronnie Lawrence. He went out there and shaved his ass. So something had to be going on behind the scenes. Maybe he asked for a lot more money on his next contract.
The people in the chat are saying he was potentially gambling.
Well, that I don't know anything about that, but in my opinion, it could not have been just a decision where like, oh yeah, we're not keeping Said Yakub Kakramanov on the roster. It makes no sense. It had to be something non-fight related as to why he got cut. And then he didn't even go to PFL or Bellator. Like his last fight was in a promotion that I had never even really heard of. So yeah, he might just be like in the penalty box for a year and he'll be back. This guy's a top 10 bantamweight at some point in his career, in my opinion.
Bufo said he just retweeted a video. Apparently, there might be evidence of this betting going on, which I feel. Yeah, I got to check that out. I haven't really been on social media, but that's interesting. And that would make sense because, yeah, like you said, you're not cutting Kakramanov because he's a bum. I mean, he's very good, like very, very good. So maybe something like that. Excited Yakov has been cashing parlays with Krauls out potentially. But as far as this matchup, Weezy, how do you feel about Dan Argueta in this matchup as a whole?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because, you know, Argueta's a wrestler. You know, he's got a background in wrestling. And I believe he was Illinois state champion, but if not, I know for a fact he went downstate and was, you know, in the top 10. But this kid can wrestle, and Ronnie Lawrence has no high school or college wrestling background at all. So he's an MMA wrestler, and he's got a great gas tank, and he can put out a pace. So when we saw Lawrence in the Jose Johnson fight, that was really like the first time that was the first time in his career we had really seen him take on that wrestling heavy game plan. Ronnie's got good striking, dude. He throws a lot of volume. He cracks. He throws a variety of stuff. He's got kicks. He's got punches. He can mix it up really well on the feet. And we saw a lot more of that than we saw of the wrestling when he came into the UFC. But he got opponents in Johnson, Cachero, and Leo Mana Martinez who are going to fold like a lawn chair every time you get in on their hips. So he looked like one of the best wrestlers we've ever seen. But the reality was he never had that background. So he's probably not going to out-wrestle a wrestler. And Argueta's definitely a wrestler, right? But on the feet, I think Ronnie Lawrence is going to be much better than this dude, actually. Now, if you look at the stats, Argueta's stats in 5 minutes of distance striking look really good. You know, 8 landed, only 6 absorbed, 18 thrown, a 2.05 distance strike differential. It's all really good numbers. But I think that Ronnie is going to be moving laterally. He's going to be faster than Dan Argueta for sure. He's going to be throwing more volume, I believe, on the feet as well. It's just a question of which one of these guys is going to be able to be the one to get the takedowns and get the control time. And as far as I'm concerned, it could go either way, you know. So I don't know if I'd lay the juice on Lawrence here, but I do think he's the better striker, and I think that this is going to be a really fun fight. You know, I think both of these guys have got great conditioning. Both of these guys are very durable. And I think that they're going to really go at it. It's going to be a back and forth, up and down, high volume fight. I like overs in terms of the time props. I like overs in terms of significant strikes and fantasy scores on prize picks. This is going to be a really fun fight. I'm picking Dan Argueta to get the win, though, Brady, because I think that he might be the one that dictates the grappling and whether he's able to win minutes there. I think he's going to be the better wrestler.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting point you brought up about the striking of Lawrence, because that's one thing that really stuck out to me outside of course, his wrestling is really good, but his striking really impressed me. I'm going Lawrence in this one by decision, but yeah, in terms of the money line, I don't really like the minus 180. What's interesting though is Lawrence opened up like minus 550 And he went all the way to like, when I recorded my video last week, he was like -1. He went from -550 to -150. I thought maybe money would keep coming in on Dan Argueta. This might close up a little bit more, and it hasn't. It went back the other way. Lawrence now -180. At that point, I'm not really interested, but I will pick him to win. And like you said, over should hit, potentially parlayable. Very chalk. I'm over 2.5 -245, but a finisher here would not. I don't think it's all that likely. So yeah, I think for me, it's Ronnie Lawrence by decision. Nothing really sticking out in terms of any props or even the money line -180. I'm okay on that.
Yeah, neither one of these guys has ever been finished either. So that's a really chalky over, though. I don't get in the habit of betting overs at -245 or whatever. So yeah, man, I think it's a really fun fight. I'm picking Argueta to win, but I don't think I'm going to get anywhere near the money line on this one.
Yeah, the one time I did bet a super chalky over, I think, who was it? It was some like, it was JJ Aldrich. Who did JJ Aldrich fight last time?
Oh, she was supposed to beat Lipsky's ass, right?
Yeah, I had the over 1.5 in that, just completely juiced, and that's the last time I bet a chalky over like that. But yeah, I'm with you there. I don't like overs in general, and especially chalky ones.
Yeah, -245 for an over. Oh my god, I would chew my nails right off the damn fingers watching that. That's brutal.
I mean, I already chew my nails enough. I don't need any of that. So
I do too, dude.
I've like no nails.
Dude, you should see mine. Like they were like psychologists that were worried about me as a kid because my fingers were always in my mouth, man.
Yeah, you should saw my nails when I was in the habit of betting, Gina Mazzani's and Lupe Godinez. Like I almost bit my fingers off, betting on those fighters.
You're preaching to the choir, man.
But luckily, I stopped doing that, and my fingernails have grown a little bit more.
That's good. That's good. Hey, we can always improve, Brady. That's one thing that's always on the table for us as human beings is to do better tomorrow.
Always. I like it. All right, Weezy, let's keep moving on. I'm actually really looking forward to this fight. We have the very handsome Teresa Bleda going against Gabriela Fernandez. We got Bleda, 21 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Fernandez, 29 years old, 5'6" with a 67.5-inch reach. Bleda, 8 years younger. Blade is going to have a 3-inch height advantage and a 3.5-inch reach advantage. So Bleda, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She went out there, got a decision win on the Contender Series. Made her debut against Natalia Silva, lost that fight by brutal third-round knockout. As far as Gabriela Fernandez, she went out there and made her debut against Jasmine Jasdavicius, lost that fight by decision. So this is one of the very first fights I researched last week, and I really liked the Bleda side until I looked at the line. I'm like, my goodness, I think it was like -275 when the line was last week. So I did have some interest until I saw she was that big of a favorite because yes, I think it's a good stylistic matchup. I think Fernandez is honestly a really good striker. She hits very, very hard. I think some of the shots she was landing against Jasmine would knock out a lot of fighters in the division, honestly. Jasmine just has like next level durability from the looks of it. So I think she's a really good striker. It's just her ground game is just non-existent. No takedown defense, no ground game offer back to speak of. She gets taken down. She's staying there until she either A, gets finished, or B, she's losing a ton of minutes. So Bleda, she can wrestle, she can grapple, she has grounded pound. I think Bleda takes down Fernandez in the first round and finishes her probably shortly after. I don't think Fernandez has a UFC caliber ground game. If Fernandez is able to stick with it, stay alive for the first 5-7.5 minutes, if this fight gets extended, I think she's going to be very, very live though, because I don't trust the cardio of Bleda. And like I said, Fernandez, she hits like a truck. So I think violence here is the way to go, Weezy. You got a +200. I'm very jealous, very, very jealous. But I will be probably looking at the under at a much worse line this week. But it's plus money for an under in this fight stylistically. I still like it at any plus money here.
Yeah, I couldn't believe because like the Propaholic said it in the chat, under 2.5 +200 was a gift because it was actually cheaper than the finish rate for the division, because the finish rate for the division is like 35, or the under 2.5 rate for the division, it's about 35%. They're giving you 33%. And it's a striker versus grappler matchup. Fernandez doesn't have much of a ground game. And that Fernandez hits like a truck on the feet. So when this fight's on the feet, Fernandez is going to be super dangerous. When this fight's on the ground, Blade is going to be super dangerous. So I do like the under here. It's a classic striker versus grappler matchup here. But Blada's still only 21 years old. She's a real prospect, Brady. Good amateur career prior to turning pro. She beat, in special rules matches, beat Lucy Pudilova and Magdalena Sormova over in Octagon, two of the top, Central European female mixed martial artists there. So, this is she's getting better. She's still only 21, and she knows who she is. She's not going to fall in love with her hands because she's been training boxing lately. She's going to grapple first, and this matchup is tailor-made for a grappler to win it. So I like Bleda here. I think she absolutely gets the job done. I could see her getting a finish in the first, second, or third round on the ground if she gets to a dominant position. And I also bet Gabriela Fernandez's knockout prop actually opened up at a good spot on Bet Online, plus 1,400, Brady.
What? Wait, what?
Plus 1,400 for Gabriela Fernandez by KO. That's her win condition.
Oh, my gosh.
She's not going to win minutes in this fight. I mean, the minutes are going to be won by Bleda's grappling. She's relentless with the grappling. So I kind of feel like, Fernandez, her win condition is getting the knockout, landing that big body shot, landing a big shot to the chin. And she has the ability to be able to do that. She's a very good striker. So like the violence here, I bet that Gabriela Fernandez knockout prop. And I think Teresa Bleda, you could potentially even parlay that money line, but I am not in the habit of doing that. And I could just see, because you have to treat every fight like it doesn't mean anything compared to what happened before, because it's that stylistic matchup. The benchmarks are nice roadmaps, you are here, and then the mall is all around you. You know where you're at. But I'm not going to lay minus 250 on a 21-year-old female fighter. It's not going to happen, but I think she does win this one.
Yeah. No, I think she wins. I think she should win, but no, I'm not. I can't do that. I can't lay this price tag. Although it looks like money's coming in on Fernandez. So minus 275 last week when I saw it. Now minus 220 for Bleda. So money's coming in on Fernandez, and I think that's more so due towards I don't know. Maybe people think that she's able to maybe weather an early storm, get a late finish there, but minus 220. I don't think it's terrible. Like, it's stylistically, it's a very, 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 very good matchup for Bleda here.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Stylistically, it's perfect for Bleda. It's made for her to do exactly what she does well and do what she does to win fights and to win this fight. So yeah, it's a good spot for her, but Gabriela Fernandez might not have gotten the script, and she might want to knock this woman out. So it's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm betting on violence.
Yeah, did you see where the KO prop went? Because it's not showing up on my screen.
I saw it go to plus 1,000 on Bet Online.
Okay, even then, it's kind of wild. Like you said, she's not going to go out there and submit Bleda, obviously.
Oh God, it went to plus 700.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's what you get, Bet Online, for putting out a good prop every once in a while. Your Uncle Weezy's gonna find you and bet you when you do mess up, and that was one that they messed up on.
I love how the 1 week I'm gone. The 1 week I'm gone. They messed up a lot of lines. It looked like. So you got plus 200 for the Bleda under, and then plus 1,400 for the Fernandez KO. There you go. So good, really good bets. I like both of them, and I would have been on both of them. And I'm still going to be on the under 2.5 there. Plus 130, plus 135. Not quite plus 200, but I still like it at plus money. Dixon, I have a question. What gives you confidence in Bleda's gas tank?
Well, the last fight was the UFC debut, and you are going to see adrenaline dumps from debuting fighters a lot of the time. And Natalia Silva is a much better potential opponent than Gabriela Fernandez, right? So it was a very difficult debut for her, and there could have been an adrenaline dump. But when you watch the fight before, the Contender Series fight, she's wrestling for the full 3 rounds. When you watch the tape prior to that, when she's not getting finishes, she is wrestling for the full 3 rounds. She's still only 21 years old, but I don't think we can absolutely be confident in Teresa's gas tank. Number one, dude, she's huge for the weight class, and she cuts a ton of weight. And then number two, yeah, we did see her slow down after round 1 significantly in the Silva fight. So we want to get more evidence that she's going to be able to push that grappling heavy game plan for the full 3 rounds at the UFC level. We're going to get a little bit more of that information on Saturday, which is probably why we don't want to lay minus 250 on her.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw the same thing. She looked fine on the Contender Series, but in her debut, very, very tired. Early second round, she was very, very tired. So yeah, I'm with you. Don't really want to lay this price tag. It's a fight she should win, but I've been burnt in these spots before plenty of times, and it's not happening again. But I think the under is the way to go here.
Yep, I agree with you, and I already bet it. And dude, if like Gabriela Fernandez gets a second round knockout, I'm gonna be doing a little dance because I'm gonna cash a plus 200 and a plus 1400.
How much did you put on the 1400?
Dude, I only put a 1/10 of a unit on it.
Okay.
I was gonna put a quarter unit on it, but I kind of felt like, I still feel like Blade is gonna win this fight.
Yeah,
That's just one of those things. What we're trying to do, Brady, is find those underpriced lines and bet them every damn time because we know over a long timeline that we're gonna make money doing that. And that was one of those lines I saw. This one's off. They had her submission prop at a higher implied probability than the knockout prop. So
that's wild.
You got to jump those opportunities.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put 5 units to win 70 units on that.
That would have been a baller move, Brady. That would have been an absolute baller move.
Heck yeah. We got Razor in the building. What is up, Razor? Hopefully you are doing well. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Zhalga Sumagulov going against Felipe Bunes. We got Zhalga Sumagulov, 34 years old, 5'4", 66-inch reach, 33 years old for Bunes here, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. We got Bunes 1 year younger. Bunes with a 3-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. So Zhalga Sumagulov, he is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Amir Albazi. Submission win against Jerome Rivera. Knockout loss against Manel Kopp. Decision loss against Jeff Molina and Charles Johnson. As far as Felipe Bunes, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, I went and taped Felipe Bunes. I was pretty impressed with him, to be honest. He's coming into the UFC very late, though, at 33 years old. He trains with the Pitbull brothers. I think he does some work with Fight Ready as well. It's just, I think this should be a fight that Zhalga should win. It's just the judges really hate Zhalga Sumagulov. And if this fight does go the distance, maybe Bunes is able to get another robbery decision here. But, Bunes, I think his striking's decent. He has some power. I think his takedown defense is not great, but he has really good jiu-jitsu. I kind of see this being as a close fight. I'm not really sure where the line is at. Well, every Zhalga Sumagulov fight is a pretty close fight. It looks like Zhalgas is minus 170. Yeah, I think he should beat this guy, but I mean, laying chalk on Zhalga Sumagulov in the UFC, Weezy, is terrifying. The judges hate this man. What are your thoughts on the Felipe Bunes?
When I watched the tape on Bunes, I was impressed. And, the first thing that I always do is just wiki cap them. I want to see who they're fighting. Who do they lose to? Are they beating anybody that's any good at all? And, when I look at a guy like Bunes, I'm a lot more likely to bet somebody like him coming into the UFC than I am somebody like Dennis Bondar, for instance, who fought a very low level of competition. When you go and you look at Bunes, this guy went to ACB and had 5 fights there. He won the first 2. And then after that, they gave him a 10-0 guy, a 9-0 guy, and a 7-1 guy. I think if you added up the records, the 3 guys that he fought in his 3-fight losing streak in ACB, those guys had a combined record of 25-1. He's flying from Brazil to Russia and fighting Russian crotch sniffers in ACB, probably, going to 5 different airports on the way, like they like to do to the foreign fighters coming into Russia, So this guy was taking really high level fights, fights that, you're going to have to really scrap to try to win. And there's not a lot of upside in taking those fights. So we know that this guy Bunes is well tested. We know that his Brazilian jiu-jitsu is really good. And then when you watch him on the feet, he strikes like every good Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner should strike, with complete reckless abandon. Just chuck heat, throw spinning shit, cartwheel kicks, do a backflip, pull some Pereira shit in there. Have fun, because you don't care if you get taken down. Once that dude takes you down, he's doing you a favor. Now you're going to be able to string your submission attempts together. So, this is going to be a tough matchup for Zhalgas. This guy, Bunis, is dangerous everywhere the fight goes. He's well tested. He's got 19 professional fights, almost 150 minutes in the pro cage, and he's finishing almost 80% of his wins, a lot of them by submission. So I do see this being a very, very close fight, Brady. I really don't know who's going to win it. I'd rather be on the plus money side. I think that this thing does go to decision, but there's none of these lines are really sticking out and making me feel like I got to really jump at them.
No, not at all. I mean, it's Zalgas minus 175. I am okay on that. I picked Zalgas to win. Bunis, he can be a little bit low volume at times. Like there's this one fight where he just didn't really do much. He can be taken down, stuck on his back. So I feel like Zalgas on the feet can land big shots, be the better striker, mix in takedowns, potentially win minutes on top. But it's going to be a close fight. And laying minus 175 in a close fight is not something I really want to do. I also think this fight goes the distance. So maybe that could be a look, but yeah, nothing really jumping off the page here for me.
Yeah, that makes two of us, man. I think it's going to be a really fun fight, and I'm looking forward to see what Felipe has for us here because I think he's a really good signing, dude. I think he's fought a good level of competition, and I think he's an exciting fighter. I think he's going to try to finish fights, and in this division, I think it's a really good spot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Bunis make his debut. And he's getting a guy in Zhumagulov who's a tough test for anybody.
Yep. I think Bunis is solid signing. I think he does belong, but Zalgas has been in there with some really good guys. He should have a much, much, much better than his UFC record shows. What isn't he like 1-6, something like that?
1-5, dude. Oh. Yeah. And I mean the loss to Paiva, the loss to Molina, and the loss to Johnson were all, they all could have went his way. He could be 4-2.
And that's wild. Apparently, it looks from the looks of it, he's rocking that Paddy Pimblett haircut still, right?
Yes, he is. I actually had that picture up on Just the Tip last night. He's looking crisp, dude. It's a good picture, man. And yeah, he's got the Paddy haircut, so he's looking for some good vibes when the scorecards come in.
Dude, do you remember first seeing Zalgas's haircut?
Dude, I thought you were trolling me. You DM'd me that picture, and I was like, "Come on, dude! Somebody photoshopped a Paddy Pimblett haircut on him because he's been getting bad decisions." And no, he actually went to his barber and he was like, "I need this haircut because I need that judge's love, like Pimblett got versus Gordon."
I know. Like, what was even more terrifying was not only the haircut, but just the way he was looking that week. I mean, look at that. He looks like,
dude, it's a vacant stare. That's the stare of a man who's getting sued for divorce by 7 wives simultaneously. That's what that stare looks like. It's just that million-yard stare where it's a terrifying look. That man has nothing to lose, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing.
You know what? That's the same look I had whenever I bet Jordan Wright, Zach Palga fight doesn't go to decision. I was like
this. That was me when I had the under 2.5 rounds for Benoit Saint Denis versus Elijah Zaleski dos Santos. After I put my fist through my computer monitor, after I threw my phone onto the Kennedy Expressway, that was the look on my face after the adrenaline dump.
Yeah, I know. I feel that. Oh, you got a compliment here, Weezy. Weezy has the best hair out of all the MMA cappers by far. Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. I got to tell you something. If I were to cut my hair, you'd probably never see me again. This hair is all I have left, ladies and gentlemen. And, so I'm going to rock it. I'm going to continue letting it flow and putting it out there for all you guys to enjoy as well.
For sure. Your hair and makeup people are doing a fine job, Weezy.
I've fired them all, just like the Butlers, Brady. But, I'm trying to learn how to do this shit on my own, but it's like I say, it's a constant struggle to try to get better every day.
Yes, sir. It is. Zero, the DFS show, we did that actually 2 hours. We did that at 7 today. So that is already up. Go check it out after the show. Fun show for the DFS show earlier with Gordo and Monk there. All right, so let's move on to Weezy. This is your main event. You got your favorite fighter, Denise Bondar, going against Carlos Hernandez. We got Carlos Hernandez, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Denise Bondar, 30 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. We got Hernandez 1 year younger. Hernandez with a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Carlos Hernandez is 4-1 in the UFC. He had a decision win on the Contender Series. He beat Victor Altamirano by split decision in his debut, and then lost by first-round submission against Alan Nascimento. As far as Denise Bondar, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Malcolm Gordon, lost that fight by TKO injury. So, yeah, this is a fight where I was very high on Denise Bondar coming into the UFC. I think everybody was, because you watch the tape on this guy and he looks really good. You know, he can wrestle very good. He can grapple. He's a finisher. He's a flyweight fight with 17 fights, 14 wins, a 100% finish rate. Everything looks really, really good, right? And then you look at the record, you look at the guys he's been beating, and it's really nobody. You know, Malcolm Gordon was probably the best guy that he's ever fought. He went out there and he lost in the first round. Was not a good look whatsoever. But yeah, I was really impressed with his skills. So I had a lot of high hopes for this guy coming to the UFC. And now after the Malcolm Gordon situation where, like I said, I think I bet the under 2.5. So my bet hit, but still I was very high on Bondar that week in DraftKings, very high on him. I expected him to go out there and finish Malcolm Gordon in the first round like everyone does. That was not the case. So I'm not as high on Bondar anymore, but I still think this is a winnable fight against Carlos Hernandez, who just really can't stuff a takedown to save his life. But then again, you know, trusting Denise Bondar at chalk is not something I really want to do because I don't know how good this guy is. He looks good. But it's easy to look good when you're fighting bums, right? I could go out there in the street and go fight a bum and look really good, and people would think I'm good. But if you fight somebody that is UFC caliber, like a Malcolm Gordon, you know, somebody that's somewhat relevant, and you look bad, I mean, maybe he's not as good as I thought. So although I was very hyped on Denise Bondar, I am a lot less hyped, but I still have some hope for this guy. But Weezy, it sounds like you are complete opposite and think he's just a complete fraud.
Yeah, you know, like a lot of these Ukrainian guys, I've just gotten these fraud vibes, and it started with Askar Mozarov. It took a step up from there with Ihor Peterier, right?
Oh.
And you know, and now we got Bondar, and you look at the level of competition that these guys have fought, and I mean, it's not even close. You know, Hernandez is in there with Alan Nascimento and Altamirano and Beres, and even Wells and Brown on the regional scene in LFA. He's fought real competition. In addition to that, Hernandez has a pretty decorated amateur career as well. I know that he's got a win over Charles Johnson on the amateur scene. He actually beat Brandon Olivas, one of YouTube's favorite cappers, one of my favorite cappers. Brandon, he's got a win over that guy. He's got a win, I think even over Tony Gravely, if I'm not mistaken. You know, this guy's good. He's got good striking. He's got a good gas tank. He's got 4 out of his 8 professional wins are by submission. He's got a very good ground game, and he gets to people's backs. He chokes people out. You know, he's got a good kickboxing background. The kid's been kickboxing, you know, with his dad as his coach since he was 6 or 7 years old. So with Bondar, there's just no evidence, Brady. There's no evidence to suggest that this guy is UFC level at all. And it pisses me off when I see certain type of records on the regional scene. Hussein Askabov, you remember him? He fought Jamal Emmers. He was 23-0.
Yeah, I mean, I cashed on Emmers at plus 135 there.
Yeah, you know, and he was 23-0. And then you look at the guys that he's fighting, and like, shit, man, he's not fighting anybody. What does this record mean? What does it mean when you go up against somebody like Emmers, who's really athletic, who's a good wrestler, who's got really good striking? You know, where are you going to find the weakness in this guy? And Bondar is actually losing to some of these bums on the regional scene. And I don't know what does a win over Gennady Gitlin mean to you, Brady? You know? And you know what the better question is than that? Because it's a very good question for me to say, all right, what does the win over Gennady Gitlin mean, right? But the more pressing question is, why the fuck did you fight him twice? Right? Why did you fight Lev Ambersarian twice? A guy, you know, like that was such a great fight the first time that we had to make it again. And it leads me to believe when I see people taking fights like that, like we saw the guy that Altamirano beat 2 fights ago, Vinicius Salvador. He's taken fights against Wallace Vampirino, who's 0-0. When he's got a 17-3 professional record, you're not trying to fight anybody good. So I think that some of these guys, they will fight literally any Uber driver, any pretzel vendor, and any factory worker that they can find on a Friday or Saturday night to just get another W on their record. And they just want to show up to the UFC, be able to tell people, I fought for the UFC. But you're not going to win fights when you're taking back-to-back fights against Gennady Gitlin and Lev Ambersarian on the regional scene. Those wins mean jack shit to me. I know that Carlos Hernandez is a real fighter. I know that he's well-rounded. I know that he's got excellent conditioning. I know that he's going to be good wherever the fight goes. So I haven't put the money down yet, Brady, but I've opened my mouth and I've called this guy a fraud, Bondar, so many times this week that I got to put my money where my mouth is and get at least one unit down on the Carlos Hernandez money line, because I think that there's just so many more reasons, legitimate reasons, to think that he's going to win this fight.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just not high on Hernandez at all is my problem. I mean, Bondar can be a bum and a fraud. It's just I don't like Hernandez. I don't like his takedown defense. I really don't like his cardio. He seems to slow down as the fight goes on. But if Bondar is a fraud, it might not matter. What I do like is, by the way, I'm kind of surprised that money's coming in on Bondar. Like, what's going on? So we opened up like minus 200, went to plus 120. He was sitting at plus money for a while, Weezy, and now he's like minus 130. What's going on?
Well, I just think that the tape is really good on him. I mean, do you remember that one Seinfeld episode where Kramer's telling Jerry, like, hey, I'm doing karate now and I am dominating out there right now. And they're like, wow, Kramer's good at karate. And then they show up to the dojo and they find out that he's in the children's class and he's waxing a bunch of 7 and 8-year-old kids. And he's hurting them. He's going hard on these dudes. And it's like, if you watch that tape, you'd be like, yeah, man, look, Kramer looks good out there. He's long. He's using his length well. He knocked out that 6-year-old girl and then she started crying. It looks good, right? So when you watch that tape on Bondar, you're like, wow, it pops more than the Hernandez tape pops, because Hernandez is fighting real fighters and Bondar is fighting the pretzel vendor.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think I'm on the Bondar side. I think my stylistical read is Bondar does get this fight down to the mat. But yeah, I mean, fraud vibes for sure. It's something that I am definitely hesitant on. So yeah, Bondar now minus 130. I don't like that. I would have bet him probably at plus 120, but that line's gone. What I do have interest in, I'm not sure how you feel about it because you are on the Hernandez side, but I really like the fight doesn't go here. Plus 130 for a Denise Bondar fight where he's went to decision one time. If it turns out he's a fraud and, Hernandez could potentially sub him late. Like isn't Hernandez a potential, isn't he like a black belt or a brown belt, or am I thinking of someone else?
He's a very good submission grappler, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's training out of Valley Flow Striking. He gets good looks every single day. He's never knocked anybody out, Brady. He's won all of his finishes are by submission. And when he came out of the Contender Series, that's what Laura Sanko was saying. This guy's a submission grappler first, but he throws a lot of volume on the feet, and he does have solid kickboxing. Yeah, I love the fight doesn't go to decision here. I think Hernandez is going to finish this fraud, Bondar, and I think you're going to cash that fight doesn't go if that's the side that you're on. So I think that's a great bet as well.
Well, at least we can line up on that side. Plus 130. That line shocks me, to be honest. So I will be on that. It opened up plus 135, Weezy. So, hey, I didn't miss it by much. There we go.
There you go, man. There you go. Yeah, I think it's a great look because Bondar's been finished a couple of times. Hernandez has been subbed once, and both of these guys do have good finish rates, but Bondar's got a 100% finish rate. He's like these poor pretzel vendors. I mean, it looks like they don't even know they're going to fight. I think that's how he got the second Gennady Gitlin fight, is because Gennady showed up and he was like, hey, give me my 100 pretzels. I'm going to go sell them to the crowd. And they'll be like, no, man, your little brother showed up before you. He's selling the pretzels. If you want a paycheck, Dennis Bondar needs another fight, and he's not willing to fight somebody that actually has experience.
It sounds good. Sounds good, Weezy. All right, let's move on then to the next fight. We have Kyung-ho Kong going against Christian Quinones. We got Kyung-ho Kong, 35 years old, 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. Quinones, 27 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. We got Quinones, 8 years younger, 1 inch height disadvantage and a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Kyung-ho Kong is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a submission win against Torito Ishihara, a decision win against Brandon Davis, a decision win against Pingwan Liu, a decision loss against Rani Yaya, a decision win against Danab Bakary. As far as Christian Quinones, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Khalid Taha, won that fight by first round knockout. So I remember being on the finish only for Khalid Taha, only for it to completely get blown up in like the first 2 minutes of the fight. Christian Quinones goes out there and starches Khalid Taha. I was not expecting that. I think that was the first time Taha had ever been knocked out. You know, Taha had showed a very good chin. So for Quinones to go out there and starch Taha really made me, I don't know, rethink Christian Quinones, because I wasn't too high on him. He's the guy that has, 3 losses. He's been finishing all of his losses, and he does make mistakes on the mat. He's submission over position. He's been getting tired and late in fights and making mistakes. But yeah, I think he's a solid fighter. He's only 27 years old. I think what happened for me, I think I was just blinded by that last name. When you think of Christian Quinones, you think of his brother Jose Quinones, who just gets knocked out all the time. Isn't that great? But I think Christian Quinones is a lot better than I originally thought. So that win over Taha really changed my opinion on him in a way. So I do like Christian Quinones here. Taking a look at the line, it looks like he is sitting around. Do you see a line on him? I don't. Oh, there he is.
He's around minus 170, I think.
Yeah, minus 158 as of now on Bet Online. I think it's solid. But Kyung-ho Kong's no bomb. I mean, he's solid everywhere. He is 35 years old at this point, but he can grapple. He showed off really good striking. It was weird. Like in the Not Bakary fight, that was the best his striking has ever looked. He went out there. I think he surpassed like 100 significant strikes against Dana. His striking looked really good in that matchup. So I think I'm not completely sold on Christian yet, but I'm a lot higher on him than I originally was. Weezy, really curious to hear your thoughts on this matchup. It's a really compelling one.
It's a very compelling one because Christian Quinones looked amazing against Khalid Taha. I actually watched that fight back 3 different times because I'm like, maybe I'm just high, but he looked incredible. And then the second time I'm like, oh man, is he really managing distance well? He uses his length well. He's got power. And even though he's got a really snappy jab, that's one thing that Quinones and Kang both have. Such nice jabs, straight. It comes right back to their chin after they're done throwing it. It's fast. It lands damage. It's a good punch. And they're both landing that, but it's Quinones who's always got something behind the jab, right? He's throwing the 2. He's throwing the hook behind it. He's got a kick behind it. While Khan will just kind of pump that jab. And he's got a 73-inch reach, which is huge for this division. So, it's going to be interesting to see who does the better job managing distance here. This is a great measuring stick to find out where this kid Christian Quinones is at. Because with Kyung-ho Kong, you got a 35-year-old guy, so he's getting towards the end of his career at a bantamweight at that age. But he's got really good grappling. He's got really good back takes. He's got really crisp boxing. He's got 28 professional fights in over 250 minutes in the pro cage. And, he's got some submission wins. He's got a couple of knockout wins. He's very durable. The last time he got knocked out, it was by soccer kicks back when you were in like 4th grade, Brady. That's the last time it happened. So I think that this fight does see the scorecards. And I think it's an incredibly good test. We're going to find out so much about Christian Quinones because if he gets a win over a well-rounded, well-tested fighter like Kyung-ho Kong, who's big for the division, who's well-rounded, who's dangerous wherever the fight goes, I think that this is where the matchmaker is saying, can we let this Quinones kid take that next step? Because he's still only 27 years old. He's got really good size for the division, comes from a fighting family and a good gym. I like Quinones here. I think he's going to win this fight because I think he does a little bit more on the feet and because I think he throws with a little bit more reckless abandon. While Kang prefers to kind of just stay at range and pump that jab and win the minutes, I think it's going to be Christian looking to take his head off, landing the bigger shots here that kind of, get the judges to say, yeah, this is the guy that's winning the fight. So I'm going with Christian Quinones by decision here.
Yep, same exact thing. Christian Quinones by decision. You brought up the durability of Kyung-ho Kong. Just next level tough, that guy. Good grappling and a very, very good chin. So with that said, though, Weezy, I mean, Khalid Taha, I wasn't expecting Quinones to finish Khalid Taha. So maybe Quinones does finish Kyung-ho Kong. But again, that would surprise me, just like it did with Taha. But I'm right there with you. Decision for Quinones. Not sure if I'll get there for a bet, though. But yeah, currently minus 158.
Yeah, he really showed out against Taha. That was a masterclass performance for a UFC debut. What a great fight for Quinones. So I'm anxious to see him take that next step here because my eyes are on this kid. I think he potentially could be really good.
Yeah, and wasn't that a Taha fight in Fight Island as well?
I think it might have been, man. I remember either being on the Taha money line or on that finish only prop like you were. I remember being just like, holy shit, did he just finish Taha? And it might have been a quick stoppage. I think Tyone stepped in, and I think it was a quick stoppage. But either way, I mean, like, Taha was getting tuned up. I mean, I don't think he landed a strike. I mean, so, like, who cares that it got stopped? He wasn't fucking winning that fight.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, really good performance. Let's see if he can build off of that. And I think he might, man. Only 27 years old, this kid. So I think he's solid. Somebody to definitely look out for. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Jimmy Flick going against Alessandro Costa. We got Jimmy Flick, 32 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. We got Alessandro Costa, 27 years old, 5'4" with a 67-inch reach. We have Costa, 5 years younger. Costa with a 3-inch height disadvantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Jimmy Flick is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Cody Durden, got a first-round submission, and then lost to Charles Johnson by KO in the first round. Alessandro Costa is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Amir Albazi, lost that fight by knockout. So I remember taping Alessandro Costa for Contender Series, and I was really impressed with him. He's a BJJ black belt, and you go and look at his earlier fights, like early in his career, his grappling's very good. Like, this guy is next level on the mat. But what really impressed me as of late is the striking, is the power. He can be a little bit low volume at times, which I don't like, but when this guy hits, he hits very, very hard. It hits like an absolute truck for the flyweight division. He seems very physically strong. Takedown defense looks solid. He's going to need that here. I think it's a really good matchup for him, but Jimmy Flick is going to be dangerous. He's going to be dangerous early, but Jimmy Flick's a guy that I think he's very talented. I just think he lacks, a lot of attributes such as toughness, durability, heart. When this guy faces any adversity at all, he crumbles, he falls, he gets finished. He's been finished a ton in his career. I think if Costa hits this guy clean once, he's going down. He's going to quit. He's quit many times before, like, especially when fights get extended. Like, when fights get extended, Flick just looks for a way out more often than not. So I think it's a really good spot for Costa. Obviously, a pretty big favorite. He was sitting around minus like 240 last week when I taped the fight. He's now around minus 250, so not much line movement there. I think violence is the way to go here in this fight, but it's probably juiced big time. Yeah, so the fight doesn't go to decisions, minus 260, which it makes sense for a Jimmy Flick fight. This guy is the definition of killer be killed. I think Costa starches Jimmy Flick at some point in this fight, but Flick is going to be very dangerous early. It's just I think Flick has a very limited path to victory here. He's going to have to take down Costa, submit him early on, and doing that against Costa, who is a really, honestly, really good grappler himself, is going to be tough to do. Flick by first round sub is probably the way you got to play this guy. The majority of his wins come in the first round, but looking at this fight doesn't go, and the under completely juiced, so I don't know if I'm going to get into anything. And they open up the under at minus 210 for the under 2.5. Weezy, is that right? Around there?
What did you say it was? Minus 210?
They opened at minus 210, or
sounds right, because I think I remember almost seeing minus 250 for that under 2.5 when after it opened and moved. Okay. Where is it right now?
Like minus 250.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That it makes sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, it seems
Can you
like
imagine betting the over. I mean, yeah, it could hit, but like you'd be. It would take years off your life trying to get that thing to 12.5 minutes, man.
Yeah, Flick has been to decision twice, 3 times, I think.
He's been there 3 times. He's 2-1 in his career in decisions in 22 fights.
Nice. So yeah, I like Costa here. I think he finishes Flick. I really question where Flick's at in his career. He retired for like 2 years, comes back, looks like crap against Charles Johnson. I mean, Charles Johnson, he's a good fighter, but he's not doing that to anybody. I think Alessandro Costa, I'm really high on this guy. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, so I mean, like, this should be a fairly obvious fight to break down, so let me just present the alternative hypothesis here, right? Because I think what everybody is thinking here is the same thing. Like, either Flick gets an early takedown and gets a submission, or Costa knocks him out on the feet. It probably goes under 1.5 rounds. But when you watch the tape on Costa, very low volume on the feet, and every time Amir Al-Bazi, like, he was 1 of 4 on his takedowns, but he only committed to one of those takedown attempts. He got it, and then he wrote him out. So he got a knockdown and the takedown in that fight. And he managed to get almost 50% control time against Alessandro Costa. And as you and I know, Brady, with Jimmy Flick, we got a guy with the wrestling of Khabib Nurmagomedov and the submission game of Damian Maia, all wrapped up into 125-pound product who is the fighting pride of Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Stand up. But the thing about Flick is we know what he's going to do, right? He's going to shoot for takedowns. He probably is going to get them. And if he does, what's Costa going to do on the ground? Is he going to get back up? I didn't see any get-up game from him. There's really not a lot of evidence out there to suggest that Flick, if he gets takedowns, isn't going to be able to win a bunch of minutes and actually maybe do it again in the second and maybe do it again in the third. Flick by decision at something better than plus 1,000 is something I might take a very, very, very small shot on. But I am with everybody else here. I think Costa wins this fight. I think he wins it inside the distance. I'm just trying to find some value because that particular take is pretty much juice to the tits. And if we want to find some value, we got to look for other ways that this fight might play out. And Flick getting takedowns and being able to stay safe on top and actually win some minutes might be one way to look at this one.
Interesting. That'd be something else. Flick by decision, only plus 550, but that's on Bet Online. So
that's just awful. There is no way in hell I would play plus 550 for a guy who's been to decision 3 times in 22 fights. Come on, Bet Online. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand that take. I don't know. I just really questioned like the motivation though. Like, can Flick even go? Can Flick even go through? Does he even want to be there? Like, I don't know.
It looked so bad in the Johnson fight. But then again, as gamblers who are looking to get discounts on lines, those are the kind of ones you have to bounce back from because nobody's thinking Jimmy Flick's going to win this fight. He looked awful against Charles Johnson. But look at those 2 takedown attempts, right? He kind of gets those takedowns, and then Johnson sweeps him immediately. Johnson's a good wrestler. I don't know if this guy Costa's a good wrestler at all. There are so many of these Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts that come out of Brazil, and then you find out they can't wrestle at all. They have no ability to wrestle at all. And if you take them down, they're just going to play submissions off their back. And if you can stay safe, you can easily ride out the round. So that's the way I'm looking at this. Like, you might be able to get Flick by decision at plus 1,200 or plus 1,500 even on sites that don't have horrible props like Bet Online does on that particular prop.
Yeah, I didn't really see much of Costa's wrestling. He seems like physically strong though. I did see his jiu-jitsu, which looks phenomenal. Like, I think his jiu-jitsu is very, very, very good. His power is very good. I think the power is going to win him this fight. Apparently Flick got a divorce.
I didn't know that. Who would divorce him? He's very handsome.
Kind of, a little bit, I suppose. So yeah, I might under 2. I mean, what are you gonna do? I like the fight doesn't go, but what are you gonna do? Minus 260. Honestly, I mean that's not bad. For Jimmy Flick fight, I might just wait for the under 1.5. I think this fight does finish very, very early on, personally. So I'll be looking at some type of violence here. But I think they are definitely onto it in terms of making the lines correct here with the under 2.5 round minus 200 to minus 250. I think they did a good job there.
Yeah, man. I don't have any money on this fight. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just presenting the alternative hypothesis. If Jimmy Flick doesn't win this fight by decision, you're not going to have to check on your Uncle Weezy. I won't be walking onto the Kennedy Expressway with a hood over my head and a sign on my back that says no funeral, trying to get hit by a car, because there's a very, very, very small chance that I would even try to bet it.
Yeah, I feel it. Mushroom saying, come on, come on, come on. Heck yeah, Mushroom. All right. Dang, Flick has 16 sponsors. That's a lot of sponsors.
Good,
yeah.
man. Make some money. That's what you're here. Dude,
That's
if you don't make money while you're fighting, you're going to have a hard life after fighting, man. A lot of these guys, they don't come out the other end the same way that they came in.
Parlay that under with the Torres, Motta under, cash it, slap flat. I haven't parlayed anything in a long time. I think the last time I did a parlay, I don't know, it's been a while, but yeah, I think that parlay hits, but I might be looking at playing probably under 1.5 in both those fights, honestly. Did Bondar steal your girl? No, I don't think that happened. Come on.
No, man, not all the way from the Ukraine, dude.
No.
He would have to be pretty good to do that. He did not. No, I just, like I say, man, it's a vibe that I get. You know, when you're not fighting good regional scene competition, it's a big red flag for me, and that's what we've seen from Bondar. So we'll see how it goes.
Did his wife pull a Gina Mazzani? I'm not sure. I didn't even hear about that. But
I don't know.
I haven't been able to watch any interview. I'm going to be doing all that tonight. The interviews, everything tonight. I'll be up late doing that. Catch up on some things. But we can move on then to the next fight. We have Hayani Barcelos going against Miles Johns. We got Barcelos, 36 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. Miles Johns, 29 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Johns, 7 years younger, same height, and Barcelos with a 1-inch reach advantage. Barcelos is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Khalid Taha. Decision loss against Tamir Valiev. A decision loss to Victor Henry. A decision win against Trevin Jones, and a knockout loss to Umar Nurmagomedov. As far as Miles Johns, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Mario Batista. Knockout win against Natividad and Dos Santos. Submission loss to Castaneda. And a decision win against Vince Morales. So, me and you, Weezy, we've always been very high on Barcelos. Yeah, I really like this guy. I thought this guy was like the dark horse in the division. I thought this guy had, top 10, top 5 upside even at one point. And then he goes out there and loses to Valiev in a fight where, he arguably probably should have been a draw, right? He won the first round. No, he lost the first round, and then he won the second round. It should have been a 10-8. He dropped him twice. The ref was like very close to stepping in and stopping the fight. Probably should have been a 10-8, and then Valiev wins the third round, but he loses the fight. That was not the best look in the world. And then he fights Victor Henry, and he loses to Victor Henry as a massive favorite, I think it was like minus 500, something crazy like that. And at that point, I'm like, man, Barcelos, I think he's approaching the end of his career. And then he goes out there and beats Trevin Jones. I cash on Barcelos, I think like minus 200 against Trevin Jones, which, looking back at it, can you believe that Barcelos was only minus 200 against Trevin Jones? I mean, that's wild. He went out there, did what he needed to do, and then he was a massive dog against Umar Nurmagomedov. Definitely a very disrespectful line. I think Nurmagomedov was like minus 1,000, but he looked minus 1,000 there. Definitely a step down in competition here for Barcelos in terms of his very last fight, going from Umar Nurmagomedov to Miles Johns. It's just, you look at this fight stylistically, it's Barcelos all day, every day. Barcelos is the much better striker. He has much better volume. He has much better power. Barcelos is the better grappler by a mile. This guy's at Coral Belt and BJJ. Miles Johns has been sub before. Barcelos is even probably the better wrestler. I mean, Barcelos has really good wrestling, not only offensively, but defensively. So Miles Johns primarily being a wrestler, especially outside the UFC, inside the UFC, not so much, but primarily a wrestler. He's not taking down Barcelos. So for Miles Johns to win this fight, he's probably going to have to knock him out. He's not going to win minutes via striking. He's not going to win minutes via grappling. I actually think Barcelos can even get takedowns and have success on the mat here. So I think it's a very, very good matchup for Barcelos. The only question I have for Barcelos is the age at this point. He's now 36 years old at Bantamweight, coming off of a brutal, scary knockout loss. How's that going to affect him? How's the age going to affect him? But outside of those two things, I think this should be Barcelos all day. Weezy, I have a feeling you might have a strong take on this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hani Barcelos a lot here. And, look, I lost money on Barcelos against Valiev. I lost money on Barcelos against Victor Henry. I lost money on Barcelos against Umar Nurmagomedov because I'm like, if you're going to give me plus 700 on Barcelos, I'm throwing a quarter unit on it. It's just something that you can't give me plus 700 on a fighter of Barcelos' quality ever against anyone. It's a fight. Anything can happen. But this spot here, John's he's kind of like short and small for the division. Barcelos is only listed with a 1-inch reach advantage, but like you watch the way that John's fight, he's kind of coiled up, he's kind of all flexed up and just he throws with so much power, but it's also slow. You see everything coming, Barcelos is going to just box this dude up on the feet. I mean, his striking is really good, really accurate at distance, 47%. Solid at distance, 62.25% distance defense. But what Johns does really well is not absorb punishment. 75% distance striking defense for Miles Johns is very impressive. But the thing is, it's the wrestling, right? Raoni Barcelos is a 3-time national wrestling champion in Brazil. The guy is one of those very rare combinations of somebody who not only has a very high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu game, but the wrestling game to be able to get that fight to the ground when he wants to use his BJJ. So with a guy like Johns, we've seen him show 92% takedown defense in the UFC. So he is a good wrestler, but he's just not getting the takedowns at this. I said that his wrestling was trash on Just the Tip last night. He's 2 of 22 on his takedown attempts, but that's bad for offensive, but when you're stuffing 12 of 13 takedown attempts, that's very good. So Johns is not really getting outworked that badly, but it's kind of scary, right? If you're not efficient, Miles Johns has 22 takedown attempts and his opponents have 13. So he should be out controlling his opponents, but he's not. He gets 11% control time and allows 15. So if you're only winning 43% of the control time positions, but you've got like 60% of the takedown attempts, that's bad efficiency rating. With somebody like Barcelos, he's been controlled only 4% of his UFC career, an 85% winning percentage on that control time, and getting his takedowns at a 41% clip, stuffing takedowns at a 94% clip. He throws a lot more volume on the feet. He's just as powerful as Johns. He's fought the much better brand of competition. That's really not even close. And his wins are a lot better. So, yeah, I mean, I think that this is Barcelos. I think Miles Johns has a puncher's chance. Dude's got real power in both hands. And we have seen Barcelos just come off of a knockout. But in lieu of him landing a really big shot at some point in this fight, it's kind of hard to watch the tape and say, yeah, I think Miles Johns is going to win some minutes in this fight. I don't think he's going to win any minutes. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Whatever Victor Henry was on that night that he fought Raoni Barcelos, man, I fucking want some, and I will pay top dollar for it. That he'll never fight like that again. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen in the UFC, period, was Victor Henry's debut. Show me somebody who showed out against somebody that people were talking about could be a champion someday. He comes in off the Asian regional scene and puts on one of the best performances in the history of the promotion. Craziness. So yeah, I'm Miles Johns is not gonna pull a Victor Henry in this spot. It's not the way that he fights. So I am looking for Barcelos to cruise.
Yeah, Victor Henry, I think he was hanging out with who is that? Juan Camilo Ronderos, potentially.
Dude, yeah, it wasn't cocaine that he was on, because cocaine will leave you a mess. He got something that we probably won't be able to take for 30 years. He got something that they're making in the lab now that the super soldiers are on, but we're not. People like you and me, Brady, we're never going to get that, because I'd like to take a shot of something and then go kick 12 people's asses because I'm indestructible and my heart is beating out like all this blood and I can just constantly go without needing oxygen. That'd be great, but it's not available. So I'm going to just stay home and continue, working on these stats.
Fair enough. So like I said, we haven't seen any lines since a week. And there's a line that really shocks me. It's the fight doesn't go to decision. It's plus money. I wasn't expecting that. 4 out of 6 of these guys' losses have came inside the distance. I really question the cardio of Miles Johns. He's been finished in both of his losses, one by knockout, one by submission. Barcelos has power. Barcelos has BJJ. The fight doesn't go at plus money is something I'm highly considering. Any thoughts on that? Which way you leaning on the fight goes or doesn't go?
So the under 2.5 here opened at plus 160, and then it went to plus 185, and your Uncle Weezy jumped in there at a plus 185 under 2.5 rounds for Barcelos versus Johns. It made no sense. My prop template was screaming at me, this is underpriced. You need to bet this. And yeah, I think Barcelos has a path, and Barcelos is coming off a vicious knockout of his own, and we know that Miles Johns has power. So yeah, it's a shot that I had to take at plus money, especially at that kind of plus money.
Yeah, plus 185 is wild. I think I'm gonna take the extra 2.5 minutes just in case. But yeah, plus 110 for that fight doesn't go something that I like, but plus 185 is ridiculous. My goodness.
Yeah, I loved that line. I'm surprised I didn't bet it more, but yeah, that and the Teresa Bleda under plus 200 was just lovely.
Yeah, last time I go on a cruise, missing out on that shit, man. Come on, you kidding me? Unbelievable.
That's what you get, dude. And you're too young to be on a goddamn cruise anyway, Brady. You know, I mean, like that.
I know.
That's death's waiting room usually on those cruises, dude. I had an old coworker who went on a cruise once when he was in his 20s, and like anytime anybody would ever bring up the word cruise around him, he would like stop the conversation and make sure that everybody knew that the cruise is the worst vacation that a young person can take. So it's like when you said you were going on a cruise, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. A cruise? What are you, Frank Costanza?
No, I mean I like it a lot. The only thing I don't like is like the internet situation rubbed me the wrong way because I'm addicted to the internet. You know, people nowadays, I mean, it's all about the internet. I mean, you can't have internet does not work. So that was the only thing that sucked. But had the casino, I had my sauna, they had a spa, they had a workout room, they of course the food, the pools, the Appletinis, the Bahama Mamas, you know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed it, but I did not enjoy missing out on these dang lines. That's the only thing I did not like doing.
Well, that's all right, man. We got the UFC is going to give us like 30 more cards this year, so we're going to make it up. You know,
we will. All right, let's move on then to the next fight. We had Weezy. Do we even have to talk about? Do we have to talk about this fight?
Yeah, we do. We do because yeah, we do because it's Denmark, my friend, and we need to talk about the durability of the Danes, and it's going to be another 15-minute speech.
Fair enough. Okay. I hate Muslim Salikhov so much. He's 38 years old, 5'11", 70-inch reach. Dalby is 38 years old, 5'11", 74-inch reach. Same age there, but Salikhov's turning 39 pretty soon here in a couple days, I think. We have Salikhov same height, and then Dalby with a 4-inch reach advantage there. So Dalby is 3 in one no contest in his last 5 fights. No contest against Jesse Ronson. Ronson popped for some PEDs. Decision win against Daniel Rodriguez in a fight he clearly lost. A decision loss to Tim Means, and then a decision win against Claudio Silva and Warley Alves. Muslim Salikhov is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Staropoli, a decision win against Dos Santos, a decision win against Trinaldo, a knockout loss against the Leech, and then a knockout win against Andre Fiallo. Weezy, I think I've picked against Muslim Salikhov in like every one of his UFC fights, and he always wins, man. I'm not a big fan of this guy. I think he's like a really good striker. Like his striking's phenomenal, but he's 39 years old, has no cardio, has no volume, has power. I think his defensive wrestling has always been a question mark for me. His ground game's always been a question mark, but they've just done a really good job matching him up with a bunch of strikers, guys that aren't going to take him down. And he's had a lot of success in those fights. Luckily in this fight, Dalby's not going to go out there and try to take him down. I think these guys are going to strike. I don't think it's going to be the most exciting fight. In terms of a pick, I don't know, dude. If I could pick both these guys to lose, I would, but I think I'm going to lean with Dalby just because I think he's going to do a little bit more. I like the volume in his last fight. He's a tick younger. I think he's going to have better cardio. I think if there's any wrestling, any, cage control, I think it's going to come from the Dalby side. So Give me Dalby, but I will not have any money on this fight. Is this fight on the main card?
No, I don't. No, it's not.
Is it the
No,
feature prelim, which would be worse?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But Dalby's a lot of times in exciting fights. But yeah, dude, you broke it down perfectly. I mean, Salikhov's low volume, but he's precise. He's such a clean striker, and when he spins, man, if he catches you, you're going down. But Dalby's a completely different. This is a very strange stylistic matchup for Muslim Salikhov, and I would be very hesitant to lay juice on him in this spot because the way that Dalby fights, precision never wins over Nick Dalby. You need to get into the grease and scrap with this dude because he brings a lot of pressure, he brings a lot of volume, he's very durable. He's never been finished, so he's going to push a pace for this whole fight. And I don't think Salikhov is going to get a lot of that distance striking time that he's used to, where he can stand at range, where his opponent's not necessarily going to be pressuring him, and he can win that low volume staring contest because he's so accurate, because he's so precise, because he makes so few mistakes, and because he's so defensively responsible. But you can win that kind of fight against Fialho, against Trinaldo, against Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, against Staropoli, who are going to stay at range. But somebody like Dalby is going to clinch you up. He's going to throw a bunch of volume at you. He's going to kind of move forward. I think this is going to be a greasy fight. And I think the further it goes on, Nick Dalby's going to be getting better and better. I'm picking Nick Dalby to win this one by decision.
Same. But like I said, Weezy, I always pick against Salikhov. And he always wins. Besides the leech, I actually bet on the leech at plus money. I cashed that ticket, but every other fight I always pick against him and he wins. It's just gonna be a close fight. And in a close fight, I mean, I could not fathom laying minus 190 on a guy like Salikhov, a guy that has questionable cardio, a guy that is 39 years old, a guy that has no ground game, a guy that is not going to do a ton against a guy in Dalby who probably is not going to do a ton as well, but he's plus 165. Pass fight for me. Any action on this one for you, Weezy?
I don't have anything on it. I think it goes over. I think Dalby is at the plus money number of like plus 160, 165. I think that's the side, but I don't think I can get to a bet on this one. I mean, Muslim is by far the better striker. And his fights stay standing 85% of the time. So it's going to be really up to Dalby to grease this shit up, to get dirty, to get in his kitchen, to not allow him to just stay at range and do what he does best. And Dalby's the archetype of fighter who, if you tell him, hey, go out there and make this greasy, he's going to do that. So I think that this is going to be fought at Dalby's pace, and I don't think Muslim's going to like it, and I think he's going to wind up winning 2 out of 3 rounds here and getting the decision.
Yeah, speaking of getting dirty and getting greasy, so I was sitting in my room, and there was like a noise in the background. You could barely hear it. And this couple next to me was having sex, right? And the lady was like screaming. And then all of a sudden you hear the guy and he's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm like, come over here, listen to this. And he's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. And it lasts like 2 minutes. And then it happened again the next night. So that was very dirty and very greasy. And I feel like that this fight could look a lot like that.
Yeah, and if you're cashing the plus money ticket, you're going to be like, oh yeah, it sounded like Rod the Macho Man.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know. It was weird. It was weird because it didn't last long. You heard it, and it was like, oh yeah. 2 minutes later, done.
Yeah, it's over with. Yeah, man. You're
I think this fight. Last. Yeah, this fight's gonna be last a little bit longer than that, but same concept. I think.
I think you're right on about that, Brady, as usual.
Oh yeah. That's a true. I'm not making that up either. That happened twice, 2 nights in a row. All right.
Are they your neighbors, or is that on the cruise?
Next door? No, on the cruise.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, you got to take advantage while you're on the boat.
No, I mean, if my neighbors did, I'd be moving if I had to hear that every night. I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree with Mushroom. It was indeed an early stoppage. Early stop. I think Chris Tony was reffing that one. Early stoppage. All right.
Oh man.
Let's keep rolling. How's your coffee, by the way, Weezy? How was it?
It's delicious. I'm still going, man, because an hour and 15 minutes from now, I'm going to be talking more fights. So, yeah, I'm getting amped up, baby. Let's go.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right. Let's keep moving on. We have really good fight here. We have Manuel Torres going against Nicolas Motta. We got Manuel Torres, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Nicolas Motta, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Torres, 2 years younger. Torres with a 1-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. Manuel Torres, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Frank Camacho, won that fight by first-round knockout. And then got a weird-ish knockout win on the Contender Series where he poked Colton England in the eye, it looked like, and the ref apparently didn't see it, and then he finished England there. So Nicolas Motta, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Jim Miller, lost that fight by second round knockout. Then he knocks out Cameron Van Camp in the first round. Really looking forward to seeing Manuel Torres out there. This guy is a killer be killed fighter, a guy that goes after it, a guy that fights like a complete madman, and I'm here for it. I really like this guy's style. Nicolas Motta is a guy that hits like an absolute truck. This guy's power is scary. He's put out guys cold. He's knocked guys out that didn't wake up for minutes. He has a ton of power. I think somebody's getting served here. I don't want to look at a money line here. What I'm looking at is violence in this matchup. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities on either side here. In terms of the guy I pick, I'm picking Torres to win just because, I don't know, I feel like these guys are going to stand and bang. And I've seen Motta knocked out so many times. Not only, I think he got knocked out or finished on the Ultimate Fighter as well, but he's been knocked out plenty other times other than that. I think in 4 losses, right, he's been finished 3 times. So, but Torres has never been knocked out, but he has been submitted twice here. So I think somebody's getting knocked out. Give me Torres to get the knockout. But what I like more than anything is some under here, which probably, like you said, has probably been getting smoked. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
So it opened up at plus 160, and that was there for 9 minutes. And then it went to plus 110, which is ridiculous. That was there for 2 hours. And then it went to minus 105. That was there for a couple hours as well. So and then went to minus 120, then minus 135, and then minus 140, and then minus 160. Yeah, I mean, that sucks. That sucks. I see minus 136. I still think that's kind of solid, but I would have really liked any even money or pick a money for the under in this matchup. But yeah, I like violence here. I still might get to it, although I did miss the bow, which sucks.
If I had caught that plus 160 opener, that would have been a max bet. It would have been so easy. You know, I mean, I was waiting for that to open. I saw it open, not at 160. I saw it when it got to plus 110. And then I was thinking, all right, how big do we want to go? And by the time I even figured that out, it was already minus 105. So I just went to win 1 unit. I got 1.05 units on the under 1.5 at minus 105. And I've also got the Nick Motta money line here, Brady, at plus 165. The way that I see this fight, we've got 2 really dangerous strikers, right? 2 guys with a ton of power. Motta, 70% knockout rate in 30 wins. Torres, 46% knockout rate in 13 wins, but he's finished all but one of his wins inside the distance has Torres. So somebody's going to get served here. These guys both hit very hard. Nick Motta's been finishing all 4 of his losses. Manuel Torres has been finishing both of his losses. So it doesn't take a genius to say, yeah, we're betting unders here. Even the fight doesn't start round 2. It's plus 100 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. I mean,
there you go.
Dude, that's crazy, you know? I mean, like, that is so expensive for that, you know. I mean, they're saying there's a 50% chance that it finishes in round 1 when the reality is that it's probably more like 75%, you know? But you just can't put that kind of a number on a fight, you know, without really kind of like taking on a lot of risk, you know, because, you know, that's a crazy number to put on a first round finish, you know? So it's an interesting fight for sure. Somebody's going to get slept here, but Nick Motta's more experienced. He's fought the better brand of competition by a mile. He's just as powerful, if not more powerful than Torres is. And here's the other thing, Brady. we don't know anything about Torres. Let's just admit that, right?
No, yeah.
We don't know shit about this guy. He poked one guy in the eye. Did he poke him or not? I don't know. It looked like it might have been the glove just scraped his eye, but either way, that we didn't learn shit from the Colton Anglin fight. And I picked Manuel Torres to shave the ass of Frank Camacho, and that's exactly what happened. But that fight taught us nothing, So now here we go. You got the Camacho fight. The reason I liked it is because Frank Camacho is not dangerous. He doesn't really even have power. He just can outlast some dudes because he could take a tremendous amount of punishment. But it was clear that was coming to an end as well. Nick Motta's fucking dangerous. Ask Cameron Van Camp. I tell you to ask Cesar Balmaceda, but I'm not sure that he can even speak anymore after he got knocked out. So, just in my opinion, it's absolutely silly to have Torres at minus 190 when we have so much more information on Nicolas Motta, a guy who knocked out Joe Solecki in round 3. A guy who's been in there with guys like Robert Hale and Glyco Franca, a guy who was in the Ultimate Fighter South America house at the age of 22. Okay. So some of this tape that you see on Motta losing, he was 21, 22, 23, 24 years old. Now, he's 30. Now he's ready to be in the prime of his career. He's well tested and he's very dangerous. So I like Motta here. I like him to win by second round knockout. And I've got a bet on his money line, and I've got a bet on the under 1.5.
What line did you get on the 1.5?
That was minus 105 that I got there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I actually kind of thought like maybe I'll I remember thinking to myself, it should level out here for a day. Let me really look into it. And I was like, no, you're not passing on an under in a Loco Torres fight. So I bit the bullet and I bet it, and I thought I might add more. And then it was already like minus 120, then minus 135. So I'm glad I jumped in when I did.
Oh, yeah. I would have, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I would have jumped on there, and I'm still probably going to even jump on it. I see minus 136. So I'll probably jump on that as well. And yeah, I think it's violence here. It's a Manuel Torres fight. The fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 325. I don't even think that's bad. Like I had a big bet on the Malott fight doesn't go last week at like minus around there. Maybe I do that again here. I mean, it's a Torres fight, and like you said, both these guys have a ton of power, especially Motta. Motta has a ton of power.
Yeah, dude. And what's Torres going to look like after round 1? That's more information that we're missing here. And we've seen if you go and you look at Motta's record, there's second round finishes, there's third round finishes, and they're against good fighters too. So yeah, I mean, like fight doesn't go here. Definitely a parlay piece this week.
Yeah, I saw people were posting that Bondar spread on Twitter. It was like the spread was plus 3.5 at like plus 200.
Yeah, and J-Bone DM'd me. He goes, dude, you got to get on this. I know you think Bondar's a fraud, but this line is off. And I went to Bet Online 2 minutes after he DM'd me, and they had already locked it. I mean, it was a clear mistake line. You don't get dudes at plus 225, plus 3.5.
No, that's stupid. Ice Viking, you're actually wrong because I'm going to Vegas for 290 in July. But after that, you're right. After that, no more vacation for me for the rest of the year, for sure. All right. Let's move on then to the next fight. We have Pat Sabatini going against Lucas Almeida. We got Pat Sabatini, 32 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Lucas Almeida, 32 years old, 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. Same age, Almeida with a 3-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Pat Sabatini, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Tristan Connolly, a submission win against Jamal Emmers, a decision win against Tucker Lutz, a decision win against TJ Laramie, then a knockout loss against Damon Jackson. As far as Lucas Almeida, he had a Contender Series loss against Daniel Zellhuber by decision, went out and got a submission win, and then he went into the UFC against Michael Trezano, won that fight by third-round knockout. Yeah, this fight, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this fight, but it sucks because I'm very high on both these guys. I like both these guys a ton. I like Pat Sabatini's his wrestling, his grappling. I think his striking does, has came a long way, but I still think he's going to be at a big striking disadvantage here. But it doesn't matter. Pat Sabatini is going to go out there. He's going to wrestle. That's his game plan. Everybody knows it, and you can't really stop him, more often than not. Lucas Almeida, black belt in BJJ. Apparently, I haven't seen much of his grappling, but he is a black belt for what it's worth. But it's the striking that is very good. The volume of Almeida, the power especially. Michael Trizano is tough as nails. He knocked him down twice and knocked out Michael Trizano. Very, very impressive UFC debut there, cashing me and your Uncle Weezy a finish-only ticket on Lucas Almeida at plus money there, which was nice. I don't know, man. Like I said, I like both guys. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. Pat Sabatini is going to be looking to get this fight down to the mat instantly. Like, I don't think he's going to want to spend any time at range whatsoever. We saw Pat Sabatini spend time at range with Jamal Emmers. He got pieced up early on, got knocked down, got hurt bad. We saw him spend a little bit of time at range against Damon Jackson, got hurt, got knocked out. So I don't think he's going to want to strike with Lucas Almeida at all. So if Lucas Almeida is able to keep this standing, I think it's, Lucas Almeida is very, very live to win this fight. But if Pat Sabatini is able to implement his game plan, he definitely has a path to victory here. So it's a close fight in my opinion, but the line doesn't really indicate that. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, classic striker versus grappler here. And Pat Sabatini, we really have to worry about that chin. So I'm thinking about maybe going back to the well here for another Lucas Almeida finish-only prop. The guy has got serious power, and Pat Sabatini's durability is in question without a doubt. I mean, this guy has been dropped, knocked out several different times, not just in the UFC, but on the regional scene as well. If you're getting dropped by Damon Jackson, that's a problem, because it's not like he was in there with hitters before that. TJ Laramie, Tucker Lutz, Tristan Connolly, but when he's in there with dudes that can hit, you've seen him get dropped. But with Sabatini, we got a 5-fight UFC sample size, 48 minutes in the cage, and this dude is spending over 76% of his fights in control time positions. He's getting 60% control time before and allowing about 17% control time. So he's winning 78% of the control time positions that his fights are in, and his fights are in control time positions 77% of the time. So Pat Sabatini is a very intelligent mixed martial artist. He fights where he's going to be safe and where he's going to be the better fighter, and he doesn't take dumb chances trying to stay at range when he knows he's the better grappler. He knows he's the better grappler here. He knows he's the better wrestler here. So I think we can count on Pat to go out there and do what we expect him to do, which is wrestle early and often, get this fight to the ground, and then when he gets it there, keep it there by staying active, by looking to advance position, by landing ground and pound, and doing what he does really well. This guy has only spent 11 minutes at range in the U.S. Or I'm sorry, 11 minutes. 11 minutes out of his 48 minutes have been spent at distance striking range. So if you're worried about the striking of Pat Sabatini, just know that he's going to fight in a way where that is not going to be exposed if he can help it. And then with Almeida, this guy is very good. He's never been finished, while we've seen Pat Sabatini be finished in 2 of his 4 losses. So I like the finish-only prop at like plus 105, plus 110 for Almeida. I think that's probably the way I'm going to try to play this one.
Where's that plus 110 at? Is it on DK? Because I see Bet Online has minus 115, but I think DK got their props out, right?
Yeah, they did, and that's where I saw it at.
Okay.
And I'm just going to log in over there right now, but that's where I saw it. I think any kind of plus money there, because Pat's not finishing dudes at the UFC level. He does have one win by submission. It came over Jamal Emmers, but Emmers put himself into a leg lock there. I don't think that Almeida is going to do anything that dumb. So, but the finish only prop here, refresh the screen for him is, oh my God. All right, there we go. Finally, plus 110 on DraftKings.
Okay.
I think I'm putting a unit on that.
No, I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Somebody in the chat said the under. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for maybe a better price on it, but the under like minus 130. I think I would rather just play that Almeida finish only, because I think if this fight does go the distance, it probably means that Pat Sabatini had his way and did not strike at all in this matchup.
Exactly. And since we've never seen Almeida finished, I think it's Pat Sabatini by decision, or it's Almeida finding a knockout, somewhere earlier in the fight.
Yep. So Almeida finish only, solid, plus 110, solid, and then Almeida by KO plus 350, not bad. I kind of feel like that's his win condition there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some submissions, but against Pat Sabatini, I think that's your win condition, isn't it? Knockout?
Yeah, maybe a club and sub, but yeah, I would say knockout.
Yeah, that's an interesting look there. Plus 350, not bad.
So Sabatini moved camps, people are saying, and he's training with the Fenty Boys.
Who
is the Fenty Boys?
I've never heard of the Fenty Boys.
Sounds like a boy. It sounds like a boy band.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounded like a musical review that opens up for a dinner theater somewhere in central Pennsylvania.
Oh, but yeah, Mushroom saying Sabatini's not at the Gracie gym anymore.
I wonder why.
So I don't know. All right, but he's with the Fenty
Boys. Fenty Boys now,
Oh, apparently it's a joke.
Okay.
I don't know. I might have to look it up. I don't want to look it up on screen. I don't want to get it.
You never know, right? Like what's going to come up there.
Let's take a look. Oh. Oh boy. I kind of want to. I don't know if I should. So I looked up. Okay, I don't know. I'm not gonna show it, but I'll let you look it up on a separate screen. Look up. Go to Google, type in Fenty Boys, and look at images.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm doing it now.
I want to see your reaction. Oh.
Images. Oh no. What the fuck? Oh, come on. Yeah, we're not putting that on the screen. Yeah.
No, we're
not. Yeah. No thanks.
On the screen for sure. All right. Where were we? Finish only for Almeida, and then potentially the knockout prop.
Man, yeah. Finish only prop for Almeida. That's what we're looking at for this fight.
Sounds good. Okay. I think we shall move on then. All right, we have a very good fight here. Armen Petrosyan going against Christian Duncan. We have Petrosyan, 32 years old, 6'3", with a 71-inch reach. Christian Duncan, 27 years old, 6'2", with a 79-inch reach. We have Petrosyan 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Gregory Rodriguez, won that fight by decision. I think he fought on the Contender Series, got a knockout win there, and then he lost a decision to Kyle Bahayo and won a decision against AJ Dobson. As far as Christian Duncan made his debut against Dusko Todorovic, won that fight by TKO. Yeah, this is a good fight here. I like Christian Duncan quite a bit. Really impressed with this guy. I think his striking is very good, and these guys kind of remind me of each other in a certain way. Whereas you take a look at all their fights, like guys are just constantly trying to take him down. Guys don't want to strike with these guys at all. Especially Armen Petrosyan. This guy's takedown defense is terrible. Some of the worst takedown defense I've ever seen in my life, to a point where I actually think Christian Duncan has sneaky takedown upside here. Christian Duncan has shown some solid grappling in the past, but I primarily think this is going to be a fight that takes place on the feet. And on the feet, Duncan has an 8-inch reach advantage. I think he has a ton of power. I think he has the power advantage in this matchup. I think it's a pretty solid matchup here for Christian Duncan. I could maybe see Petrosyan landing more in terms of the volume, but it's going to be Duncan with those harder shots, the bigger moments. And like I said, sneaky grappling upside, just because anybody could take down Armen Petrosyan. So I'm kind of looking at Duncan here, and I kind of want to see where this line is sitting at. So Duncan right now sitting around minus 155. He was around there whenever I taped it last week. I don't hate that. I think he has multiple paths to victory here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think Christian Duncan could potentially even be a champion one day. When you watch this guy's tape, it jumps off the screen what he's doing. First of all, he doesn't look like he should make the weight class, right? He's absolutely massive. 79-inch reach for a man that's 6'2" is freakish. He constantly is switching stances. The variety of attacks that he throws with his hands, knees, and feet are crazy. He's explosive. He's unorthodox. He's unpredictable. And he hits so hard. And then, like you say, you see all these fights where Petrosyan's getting grappled, where Duncan's getting grappled. But the difference is that Duncan's getting reverses and then finishing dudes on the ground, while Petrosyan has to get back up. But he winds up just kind of outlasting some people. But here's the thing about Christian Duncan, Brady. 8 professional fights, 22 amateur fights. 16-6 in those amateur fights, never finished in any of the losses. So he's very experienced for a guy with only 8 fights. He knows what it means to lose and to come back from a loss. I don't see Petrosyan having a chance here. I think Christian Duncan's going to kill this dude. I think he's gonna knock him out in the first or the second round, to be honest with you. Both of these guys are very good kickboxers, but Petrosyan's at an 8-inch reach disadvantage here. And I think both of these guys are incredibly technical, but Petrosyan is so meat and potatoes, and Duncan is so long and so unorthodox. I don't see his traditional techniques giving Duncan any problems. I think he's going to be, defensive a lot in this fight, and I think Christian's going to find his chin and knock him out. I parlayed Christian Duncan today with Hani Barcelos and got plus 147 and hit it for 1.5 units.
I mean, I agree with you, but Bootsy clearly strongly disagrees. But Bootsy's been wrong, lately, so maybe you're fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that Bootsy really knows that he's barking for an underdog. It might just be somebody at the door or something. But, it doesn't matter really, because if people wanted to listen to a dog for advice, they could go just about anywhere. They don't have to come here to Pub Sports Radio. But yeah, dude, I really am high on this Duncan kid. I think this is going to be the cheapest price we're going to be able to get him at for a while.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I might just play him straight. Minus 147. I see a minus 145, minus 140 out there. I think it's a spot where he has multiple paths there. I did see something in the chat. A Petrosyan live bet if he survives round 1. I don't think Duncan has bad cardio, nothing like that. His cardio looked phenomenal from what I've seen.
Yeah, his cardio is very, very good. I mean, he's won all of his professional fights inside the distance except for one of them, but there's no indication that his cardio is bad at all. And as a matter of fact, if in the Will Curry fights, you see that those are up and down, high-paced, grappling-heavy fights, and he winds up finishing this dude he finished him once, and then he beat him by decision the second time. But yeah, dude, his cardio is excellent.
Yeah, and I think Armen's is as well. I don't think anybody's cardio is going to be an issue in this one. Duncan plus Armen will give you plus money. Mike saying don't disrespect the Armenian here. I don't think he's I think just Weezy, and I am as well, very high on Christian Duncan. I think that's what it is.
Absolutely. I'm really high on this guy.
All right, so we'll move on then. We have 2 fights left. We have Armen Tsarukyan going against Joaquim Silva. Weezy, we don't have to spend too much time on this. I looked at the props for this fight just now, and I nearly puked. Yeah. Minus 265 for Armen Tsarukyan inside the distance. The fight doesn't go to decision is the same as the freaking Torres fight, minus 325. I mean, I just don't really see any way of betting this fight whatsoever. Obviously, I'm not touching the dog in Silva. This should be Armen Tsarukyan all day. I don't know why this fight is sanctioned. I feel like whoever sanctioned this fight should be fired. There should be some penalty for sanctioning this fight. It's just complete level difference. This fight makes no sense to me. But Tsarukyan should go out there and make quick work of Joaquim Silva. But minus 265 for him to finish the fight is just not something you can lay here at all. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, my money will be getting nowhere near this. I think Armen Tsarukyan wins this fight easily, but I don't see any way to profit from it. So I'm just going to stay away from it. Joaquim does not deserve a fight against this guy. Dixon said in the chat that he said in his media day interview, Joaquim Silva did, that he's here for a paycheck because he's broke and he needs money for a down payment on a house. Yeah, I mean, like, but am I parlaying Tsarukyan at minus 1,000? Am I parlaying an inside the distance prop at minus 265? No, hell no. I mean, you come here for advice to Pub Sports Radio. I mean, Brady and I spend hours and hours and hours every week watching fights so that we can give you educated breakdowns and give you multiple paths to victory. Look, Tsarukyan's winning this fight. You don't need us to tell you that. So let's move on to the main event.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you want a winner, yeah, parlay them up, but I mean, adds zero value. You can take your minus 200 ticket and get it to minus 190. There you go.
Yeah, something that's really like what it does. It takes
Yeah.
minus 200, brings you like to minus 175, and then you still have the banana peel thing to worry about. What if Tsarukyan's hurt and he's just like, I don't care if I'm hurt, I can beat Joaquim Silva with one arm, and then his shoulder pops out, and you're like, oh my god, what just happened? Did I just blow a 7-leg parlay because the 6th leg was a minus 1,000?
Yeah, we've seen crazier things happen. I do think Arman Tsarukyan could beat Silva with both his hands tied behind his back. Yeah.
This might be one of those old school wrestling matches where it's like a handicap match. You got one arm tied behind your back,
Yes. And I still think he wins. He
might.
But yeah, minus 1,000 for Tsarukyan. No hot take here. Has anybody picked? I haven't been on social media, anything. Has anybody been picking Silva this week, or just?
I haven't seen it. Yeah,
nobody's stepping up and taking the dog here.
I kind of feel like on a 14-fight card that this is kind of like the fight that nobody gives a shit about, and it's the co-main event.
Yeah,
and it's because it's bad matchmaking. I mean, like nobody else picked up the phone for Tsarukyan, really. Joaquim Silva, that's what I was saying on my show. Like if you had a list of names to call at 155 to be like, who's going to take this fight? What number on that list would Joaquim Silva be? How many fighters would you have had to have called to be like, well, let's try Joaquim Neto BJJ Silva. Maybe he'll pick up the phone,
It's wild. Like I'm looking at like the Tapology rankings to look for Joaquim Silva. And you have to like scroll. So Armen's ranked like the number 8 lightweight in the world. Silva's ranked the 59th lightweight in the world. 59.
Yeah. It makes no sense, man.
No sense. Like he deserves a top 10 guy. So he's already fought Gamrot. Chandler's not going to happen. Moicano. Grant Dawson.
That was the fight that was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be Moicano. Moicano pulled out with an injury, and then for some reason the UFC felt like they had to find Tsarukyan a fight, or maybe Arman said, "Hey, look, guys, I have to fight. I've got to feed my family." So I don't know. It felt like this is a last option that they, Silva needed the money, Tsarukyan needed the fight, and the UFC needed another fight on this card. I mean, just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, I mean, I'm looking at like there's a couple top 25 guys. Wouldn't it be funny if they put him in there with Claudio Poyas, 24th ranked lightweight?
Yeah, be like, watch out for that heel hook, watch out for that knee bar.
That'd be hilarious. Let's see. They could have put him in there with I would say Garam Kudathaladi, but that guy doesn't fight.
Yeah, he doesn't fight. We'll see him again in 2026.
2027. All right. Yep. Tsarukyan gets this done convincingly. All right. Moving on to the main event. Before we get started into this main event, if you guys have not already, let's get those likes up. Smash the like button for us. Subscribe to Pub Sports Radio. Me and Weezy going live a little bit late in the week, but we are not taking the week off from Stat Diggers. Definitely want to get on here and talk some fights with Uncle Weezy in the chat as well. All right. So we'll start with Marvin Vettori here. He's 29 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Jared Cannonier, 39 years old, 5'11" with a 77-inch reach. Vettori, 10 years younger, 1-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach disadvantage. Marvin Vettori, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Kevin Holland, a decision loss against Adesanya, decision win against Paulo Costa, a decision loss against Robert Whittaker, and then a decision win against Roman Dolidze. As far as Jared Cannonier, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss against Robert Whittaker, a decision win against Calvin Gastelum, knockout win against Derek Brunson, decision loss against Adesanya, and then a decision win against John Strickland. So you take a look at both guys, their last 2 losses coming against Robert Whittaker and Adesanya. So these guys are losing to the best of the best. Really like this matchup here. I think it's a close fight, and the line is definitely indicating that. I guess it comes down to me whether or not Marvin Vettori is going to be able to implement some takedown, some grappling here. I think he's going to try to. So he didn't really try to in the Dolidze fight. He tried to a lot in the second Adesanya fight. Didn't have a ton of success doing so. But I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to take down Jared Cannonier and potentially hold him down, win minutes there. Because at range, Marvin Vettori, I like the volume, but I do think Cannonier is a very good striker, lots of volume in his own right, and a ton of power as well. I think if this fight's standing, it's going to be close and competitive, but I think Vettori can potentially mix in takedowns here. I like the fact that he's 10 years younger. It's crazy. Jared Cannonier, 39 years old, still going strong, still looking good as well. Just went out there against Sean Strickland, got a win. Very good win there. So, yeah, I think it's a close fight. The line has came down a lot. So whenever I taped this fight last week, I saw Vettori around like minus 150. And now Vettori's sitting around minus 110. It's about a pick 'em now, it looks like. No, actually, no. It's now minus 130. So money just came in on Vettori. So around minus 120, minus 130 for Marvin Vettori. This line's closing up a little bit. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like if you look at the stats and stuff, you're gonna say, all right, I kind of like Vettori by decision here. But the problem is like you see that takedown defense on Cannonier, 64.4%, 21 of 59 his opponents have been, and he's allowing 16.5% control time. But what we're not seeing in there is that he's stuffed 16 out of 20 takedowns in the middleweight division. So yeah, like he gave up 16 takedowns on like 39 attempts prior to being in the middleweight division, and was getting audited on the ground. But now Jared's stopping these takedowns, and he's not spending more than 2 to 2.5 minutes in any fight being controlled by his opponents, when we saw that number be a lot higher up at 205 and at heavyweight. So if Vettori's unable to get takedowns at a big clip here, I think that this fight plays out really close. I took a shot on Cannonier by decision because for some reason BetOnline kind of messed this one up too, because why would you have Cannonier knockout at a greater percentage than Cannonier decision when he's fighting a guy in Marvin Vettori, who we've seen, like Marvin Vettori after he retires from the UFC could probably like start his own Italian Jackass show and just have people hit him in the head with shovels, and he'll just eat it like a pancake and smile. Because this guy, nobody's knocking him out. So I think that this fight definitely goes to decision, Brady. Vettori doesn't really finish anybody, and I don't think Cannonier is going to be the first person to finish Marvin Vettori. So I think that this thing goes the distance. I think whoever you like, you should probably bet him by decision. I'm picking Jared Cannonier because I think he's going to stop the takedowns and land the bigger shots on the feet. But I'm not betting the money line. Like I said, I took a small half-unit shot on Cannonier by decision at plus 300, which is now, I think, plus 200 because the lines moved to where they make a lot more sense now.
Yep. No, but it doesn't really seem like many people are trying to take down Cannonier. Outside of Gastelum was 0 for 8, and then Brunson was 3 for 13. So yeah, his takedown defense is really good, huh?
At middleweight, yes, because he doesn't have much bigger guys wearing on him. So yeah, he's shown that he can defensively wrestle, keep fights standing, and his fights are already standing 77% of the time. But I would wager, Brady, that in the middleweight fights, it's been standing 85 to 90% of the time, probably.
Nice, for sure. Yeah, if this fight does stay standing, I would actually edge Cannonier ever so slightly, but I do think Vettori can mix in a takedown or two, get some cage control, but it's going to be a close fight. I don't have a strong lean one way or another. About a pick and price tag here. I think the overs are solid, but I see they've got pounded throughout the week. Opened up minus 150 for their over, currently minus 200. Nothing really sticking out on this main event.
Yeah, like I said, I took that small half-unit shot on Cannonier by decision at plus 300, but outside of that, and I might... like in the greasy 4-leg parlay this week, that last leg might be like a juicy fight starts round 4 or an over 2.5 or something is the last leg of the parlay, so you can kind of hedge out if you've hit the first 3 legs. But yeah, I mean, like that's something I could see parlaying up is an over in this fight as the last leg of a parlay because it's the main event. So I think that's an interesting way to play it. I think this is going to play out really close, man. Vettori's been scheduled for 5 rounds 4 times. Cannonier's been scheduled for 5 rounds 4 times. 7 of those 8 fights went to decision.
Yep, overs are good. What's been going on in the interviews this week? I'm missing a lot this week. So Cannonier said he wants to be the one to pop his chin cherry. He said that.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that's something you would. For instance, Frivola said he was going to do that to to Dober, and I laughed at him. I think everybody laughed at him.
He said chin cherry though,
but he didn't say chin cherry.
okay.
No, I believe Cannonier might have coined that phrase, and
I like
all credit to him. I hope he gets that copyrighted, and then we can put it on a T-shirt or a mug or something like that. It's not a bad idea, but yeah, if he does that, that's going to be a big feather in the cap of Jared Cannonier if he's the first one to finish Marvin Vettori.
Who hits harder, Costa, Cannonier? The thing about the Costa fight is Costa didn't even want to cut weight. That was a weird fight where Costa didn't even want to be there that week. He said he's not cutting weight. That was a weird fight.
It was a really weird fight because Costa was actually cracking him later on in the fight.
Yeah, he was.
And I remember thinking to myself, wait a second, you were just supposed to go away after the second round because you didn't even cut weight. He showed up and he just said, we're not doing this at 185. Let's do it at 205. And Marvin was like, all right, I'll call your bluff. Let's do 205. You want to make it 220? I'll fight you wherever. And then Paulo was like, well, looks like I'm going to have to fight him.
Yeah, that was a weird fight for sure. Yeah, he showed good card. It looked like he was gassed out in the first round, and then he was able to go 5 rounds and look solid doing it. That was a weird fight there.
Dude, I remember Brady. I needed Vettori to win that fight to get basically a takedown in DraftKings. I realized I was going to take down the tournament if Vettori won. And after round 2, because after round 1, I'm like, oh, Costa's done. And then he started fighting through it. And then in the 3rd round, he started landing some bombs. I'm like, I can't watch this shit. I got to take the dog for a walk. And so I took Bootsy for a walk. And then when we came back, they were literally waiting for the decision. I was like, all right, Marvin made it to decision. I think he won the first 2 rounds and he got the decision. I took down the tournament. That was great. But man, that had me nervous, dude, because Paulo actually came on later on in that fight. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and at one point, I forget which round it was, but he landed a flush head kick as well. And Marvin just ate it. He just ate it and smiled. He was like, oh.
His durability is legendary.
It is. It definitely is. But Weezy, we did it. Hey, right at 2 hours. Perfect timing here. Any final thoughts on the card after going through it? I think there's, a lot of spots sticking out, and B, good, really good card this week.
Yeah, I think there's some good dog spots. I've already picked off a lot of really nice over-unders. I think I've got close to 7 units on this card, and I'll probably be adding just a little bit to that. But yeah, fun card, good fights. You can miss Pauga Bukowskis and then watch the last 13 and really enjoy yourself. So I'm really looking forward to watching these fights, stacking cash tickets like flapjacks this week, keeping it rolling because you and I, we both had great weeks last week as well. So.
And you're going live in 37 minutes, right?
37 minutes. And I'm going to try to get to my favorite Italian beef place and get an Italian beef and fries and load up on some calories so that I can talk for another 2 hours tonight. Make it 5 hours on camera. Why not?
Goodness. Yeah, I would love to get some sleep, but I have so much stuff to do. I'm going to start putting in bets. Right now I have a massive 0 units. So right now you're beating me on this card. You have 7 to my 0, but I'm sure by either tonight or tomorrow I'll be catching up with you. Yeah.
Hopefully you will, man. We identified a lot of good spots today, so now you can get that work done and do a little content tomorrow, and then we'll enjoy this. We'll enjoy this card.
Let's do it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe. I posted my full card breakdown already, but I'm going to be posting some DraftKings content tomorrow, betting breakdown on Friday. Then I'll be going live Friday as well. And I might be looking at doing a best bet show tomorrow night, Thursday night as well. So be on the lookout for that because I will not be around on Saturday. Best of luck, guys. Talk to you soon and see you later.